So we've showed you that it's not Russian propaganda that the Ukrainians are hooked up with Nazis. It's for real, and everybody used to talk about it until this war, and everybody pretends they're just ultra nationalists or something like that. Are there really neo-Nazis fighting for Ukraine? Well, yes, but it's a long story. That's what they say. Winning hearts in the PR war, Ukrainians has a Nazi problem that NATO and USA do not talk about. Okay, so that's all real. And then there they are. There's the Ukraine, and they're holding a Ukrainian flag with a Nazi symbol on it. And then even here's Ro Khanna, a guy who now backtracks on these words. He was telling the truth a few years ago when he said, ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the United States has been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Enough is enough, he says. Our government must stand up to the Azov Battalion and other fascist groups. He then went on to vote yay and vote funding those Nazis with $40 billion because Ro Khanna has just as much integrity as any other politician. Okay, and so why do I tell you all this? Because this woman here won a silver medal boxing for Ukraine. Her name is Diana Petrenko. She took second place, and she raises the flag. You want to see the flag she raises? Here we go. Oh, she got a Nazi flag. She got a Nazi flag.
Now, can you make it out behind the wolf's angle, the black sun? That I guess that was too black for them, so they turned it white.
They turned it white. Yeah, behind it is that thing, but that's it.
Wow.
There it is, and she doesn't even want to put it down to shake your hand. She wants to keep holding that Nazi thing. And they told her, don't you drop it for anything. Isn't that wild? That she's just allowed to bring a Nazi flag? Oh, she's going to say something to her?
She said, can you put that away, please?
Oh, she did tell her to put it away. It's actually kind of fitting for her to fly the Azov flag since she took second place. Am I right? Because the Nazis came in second in World War II.
What would Vince Lombardi say about that?
Here's another response. It says, didn't get the memo to remove the black sun. Azov Battalion troops, so there it is. They dropped their neo-Nazi symbol, and they, of course, exploited by Russian propagandists. So that's how they spin it. Oh, well, we got to get rid of our Nazi symbols. Why? Because the Russian propagandists are exploiting it.
They're going to use the whataboutism.
Here's another one. Here's another headline. World Athletics reaffirm Russia's ban for track and field championships. That's from June 2nd. So now all Russians are banned. Not the Nazis in Ukraine. That you saw the Nazi holding up the Nazi flag, winning a Nazi medal. Those are Nazis. But the Russians are the ones who aren't allowed to participate in world athletics. Isn't that kind of interesting? Russian, Belarusian athletes banned from Paralympics over the Paralympics. Even paralyzed Russians are bad people. Even they aren't allowed to compete. Doesn't it make you feel like you need a shower? What do you have to say about this, Max?
Well, Putin's shaking in his boots.
Oh, yeah.
He's afraid that the Paralympics athletes will storm the Kremlin now. This clearly isn't producing a kind of rally around the flag effect in Russia, where Putin's approval rating is surging to record levels after plunging into the 60s for the first time before the war.
Are Ukrainian? There's not Ukrainian Paralympians, are there? Because I heard the Nazis weren't that cool with the disabilities.
That's what I hear. Yeah, the Nazis weren't very cool with the people with the handicaps. Am I right?
They told them they were going to the Paralympic Games, but they didn't get there.
Pay no attention to the showers.
Well, one of the best tennis players in the world, Medvedev, Daniil Medvedev, was banned from Wimbledon. And I think the reason why was that he was likely to win. He was a contender to win.
Yes.
And then the winner has to shake hands with, I believe, some member of the British royal family. I'm not an avid consumer of Wimbledon tournaments, but it would have been a huge embarrassment because he would have been honored in the UK, and they didn't want to touch a Russian at a victory ceremony.
Was it Prince Andrew?
Yeah, yeah.
We can't have him disgracing Prince Andrew.
So this would be the equivalent.
Prince Andrew's clean hands.
So
it was the Epstein Award.
This would be the equivalent. Okay, go ahead.
There's a Ovechkin. Ovechkin is the most famous hockey player here in Washington. One of the best hockey players in the NFL.
Wait a minute. Hockey players in the NHL?
NHL.
You
yes.
said NFL.
NFL.
I didn't want. I got it.
I guess I always refer to WikiLeaks as Wikipedia. It's
Me
like
too. That happens
facts.
sometimes.
Alex Ovechkin. I mean, he took the Washington Capitals to the Stanley Cup. I think it was the first time we ever got a Stanley Cup here. I don't follow hockey. Anyway, I follow the NFL, NBA, MLB, but I don't follow hockey. But why it's significant, Ovechkin comes from Russia. He is one of the greatest hockey players from Russia, so he has participated in some ceremonial activities with Putin, and he's constantly now getting smeared in mainstream Washington media. They're trying to run him out of town. The best player, I mean, the only good thing that Washington sports has going for it right now is him, and they're trying to run him out of town simply because he's Russian. So it's just McCarthyism across sports against Russian athletes.
So imagine, if you will, it's 2003 and they ban, or whatever, let's say it's tomorrow, and they ban Serena Williams from going to the Wimbledon because the United States is illegally occupying a third of Syria, which we're doing right now. That's the equivalent of what they're doing. They would be. Can you imagine if Wimbledon banned Serena Williams from competing in Wimbledon because the United States military was occupying Syria, which they are, and that's
when has anyone in any official capacity at FIFA or Olympic Committee done anything against Israeli athletes?
Never.
Who all have served in the military, which is engaged in a hostile 70-year occupation of Palestinians and even preventing Palestinians from competing, shooting Palestinian athletes. Killing multiple Palestinian professional athletes. It never will happen.
Yeah. So
I bet you even the WWE will erase Nikolai Volkov from the Hall of Fame. Like they did Hogan.
All right. Well, it is really a one world government almost. They're trying to make a one world government outside of China and Russia. But guess what? You can't do that. That's not going to work. It's going to backfire on us, which it already is. We just dropped a video talking about how this war in Ukraine, our attempt, the Western capitalists' attempt, which is what this is, the Western capitalists' attempt to grab more of the economy of Europe from Russia, which is what this is, and to isolate them and kind of try to kick them out of our financial world order is not working. It's not working. That's what this is. That's why they do it with tennis. That's why they do it with sports. They try to show, look, we run the world, not you. But they're getting a harsh awakening right now with $9 a gallon gas prices in Mendocino County, California, inflation at record levels. And, Europe is feeling the same stuff. And there's going to be food shortages coming soon. And if this is the kind of stuff you thought Trump would do, this is the kind of stuff that they made you think, oh, Trump's crazy. He would do things like that. Pick fights with nuclear powers. You can't have his finger on the nuclear button. He would do things that would hurt our economy and hurt our prestige. That's exactly what Joe Biden and the West is doing and NATO is doing. They're doing every crazy thing they tried to project onto Trump. They're freaking doing it now. And they're wrecking the dollar. So
it's one of the worst policy failures, if not the worst policy failure since the Iraq War. And the other massive policy failure was the lockdowns. And both the lockdowns and the economic war on Russia have the same effect, the controlled demolition of our economies.
Oh, I'm going to use that phrase. I like that. That's a good phrase. It's the lockdown and the Ukraine war is the controlled demolition of our economy, not theirs. That's good.
And it's a rich man's war. And just like the lockdowns enhance the fortunes of the big tech overlords, the $40 billion to Ukraine is coming right back here to Washington, right back to the arms industry in California, Colorado, and Texas, and back into big tech firms like Amazon, which are contracting with the national security state. It's a money laundering operation, and it's paying for them to pad their wallets and get their McMansions out in suburban DC and their little gentrifier drone boxes for their mid-level employees in Washington's urban core, and everybody else suffers. And they're the ones who are making the policy. They are the best and brightest in the Biden administration who are so stupid that they wouldn't listen to, the disinformation actors on Twitter and YouTube who are saying that this economic war against the 11th largest economy in the world, which is the largest net exporter of oil and gas, would backfire and lead to them sanctioning their own populations. And so we're being sanctioned by our leadership. We are being sanctioned by the Biden administration. And there should be so much more anger out there about what is happening right now. But we're being misdirected. And Biden is calling it the Putin price hike. This is the Biden price hike. This is the price of NATO. This is the price of Biden's hostile war, Cold War against Russia. This is the price of 8 years of low-intensity proxy war in Ukraine. This is the price of empire. You're paying the price at the pump. You're paying the price at the supermarket aisle. You're paying the price on everything, on your kids' clothes, on their school supplies, on basic goods. That's the price of empire. People need to see it in order for them to begin to act and hold the monsters among us accountable.
If I was Biden, I would go, Oceania has always been at war with Russia.
That's right. That's right.
Might as well be saying that. I mean, you look at how the wars, they discuss it. It's because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, our gas prices have gone up. No, they went up because of the decision you made to wage an economic war on all of Russia and all of Russia's citizens with these bonkers oil blockades and sanctions. The same way they talk about because of the pandemic or the stress of the pandemic. No, the stress wouldn't have been there if you didn't hold an entire healthy population under house arrest and drive them into poverty. That wouldn't have happened. It's because of your policy decision. And so they want to make their own decisions invisible and make it seem like this is just some force of nature that's taking hold.
I like how Russia started making way more money on their oil after we put the...
Yeah, I wonder why. $120 a barrel for oil, and you see the Biden administration is starting to skirt its own sanctions regime. They're like looking for ways to do what countries that had been sanctioned used to do, but it's their own sanctions because they can't let the population starve and stand for election. They're doing it.
Yes, it's direct policy. So if you're feeling the pain right now economically, these are policy choices made by Joe Biden and the Democrats. This is coming from their decision in Ukraine. This is coming from the decision with the CARES Act. This is coming from the decision with lockdowns. This is coming from the decision to give you vaccines instead of health care.
Yep.
Again, our next story is going to show you how much money you could save and how much we could all save and how many lives would be saved if we had healthcare like the rest of the world, which they refuse to give you. So when they tell you that they're giving you vaccines because they care about your health, that is 100% effing bullshit. They're giving you vaccines because that's how the capitalistic system works. They've captured their government, and instead of giving you health care, they're giving you something that's going to give them hundreds of billions of dollars in profits, which then gives them enough money to control the media and the government at the same time, and even lefty YouTubers and most of the comedians in this country. Their brain gets polluted with propaganda, and then they repeat it without critically looking at it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, the rich man's war aspect's hilarious because that really is, that you're like at the cool kids table if you have a Ukraine flag on your. Also, now's probably a good time to talk a lot of shit about vaccines while they're focused on the other thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, they're done with that. I mean, you saw at the World Economic Forum, the CEO of Moderna and the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, were complaining that they're throwing millions of doses away and they can't inject them into the bodies of Black Africans. That's what they were literally saying, that they had planned on this next phase and Africans don't want it because they've done very well with COVID. And people just aren't interested.
And they all have natural immunity now.
because we
And
didn't give it to them before because
he
were
said,
poor.
no, yeah. And Bill Gates said it, I think at the WF, he said, sadly, they have natural immunity. They've had a natural vaccination. Why is that sad? Because he can't make money off it then. That's why
And
it's
now-
sad.
And now
Sadly,
Justin-
nature is taking its course.
Yeah.
Now Justin Bieber and his wife have to have extra boosters.
Yeah. No kidding.
Well, Fauci has it. Fauci got COVID. I mean, he announced he has COVID.
There are still people, I still run into comedians who wear a mask all the way up to the microphone. I saw it last night. I was at a comedy club in Burbank. I saw a female comedian wear a mask all the way up to the microphone and then take it and then use the same goddamn microphone that everybody's using. I'm using everybody's using the microphone. It's always touching their lips. It's never not touching people's lips. And she went up and used it after she took her mask off because they think they're a better person than you if they don't get COVID.
She's vaccinated.
And that's the whole thing is they think they're a better. You're already vaccinated. What are you worried about? You're going to get COVID. Nobody is not going to get it. She probably already had it, was asymptomatic, and doesn't know it.
Yeah, how about Gavin Newsom getting it after he was hanging out with Justin Trudeau? They shot a selfie video recently. The first time Gavin Newsom got his booster, his first booster, he disappeared for 10 days. We don't know where he went.
We don't know where he went. They took
there were some blurry photos of him from far away, and he's like covering his face with a mask.
We know where he was giving his kids a great Halloween.
And YouTube made me take that video
being
down.
A believer.
That video I did about that, about where'd he go and what, blah, blah, blah. And everybody was speculating that he had Bell's palsy. They made me take that video down. They made me. Yeah, they made me.
Well, if
you're promoting hesitancy.
Yeah,
if you suggest that him and Trudeau after their meeting both had monkeypox, will that be taken out?
All right.
After Newsom's next booster, he gets a positive test, and Trudeau announces he has COVID, and then re-enters Canada with COVID, which Canadian citizens were not allowed to do. The Canadian media is like, okay, whatever. You just get to do that because you're Trudeau and you have cool socks. And then after that happens, the Canadian government finally drops its cross-border mandate. So
I thought he snuck across wearing full blackface. That's how I thought he went across. Okay, let the black guy through, eh?
No one has better disguises than Trudeau.
All right, Max Blumenthal. Everybody check out his work at the Grayzone. That was fantastic. I look forward to more of your reporting to expose the intelligence operation that's happening not only on YouTube but happening in universities. It's happening in corporate media and inside everywhere. So thank you very much, everybody. Check out the Grayzone. We'll see you next time, Max. Thank you very much.
Free Julian Assange. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Hey, we're doing stand-up dates. Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, Chicago, Sacramento, and then San Diego, where I'm taping my new special. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our live shows. We're coming to your town, maybe.